welcome. This is episode 42 of Abbott and Costello Meet the Podcast, jovially entitled Ho Ho Ho's on First. I'm Jerry Shario, getting over the flu right now, so pardon my tone. And it's my pleasure, as always, to introduce to you the man who's responsible for all of this mayhem. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, and that's why he's got multiple restraining orders against him. It's Nick Santamaria.
Gentleman known for his restraint. No, it's very difficult during the winter to be standing outside someone's window with your nose pressed to the glass while you're being a voyeur. It's something I do every Christmas, and I enjoy visiting the same prison year after year. I see the same guys, hey guys, Merry Christmas, and they're all woke and they tell me not to use the word Christmas, and that's when I turn around and go home. But no, that's interesting because I've been watching a few YouTube videos about certain places, one of them being London, England, where they are not allowed to say Christmas. What? It's happy holiday, it's happy gathering, it's magic winter. There's no mention of Christmas. And that's certain places here in this country as well. So in response, I just want to tell everyone, Merry Christmas. I'll say it again. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas. That's right, Jer. And Jer, you, not only are you in a production of Miracle on 34th Street, which is all about Christmas.
Yes.
You are in the town of Bethlehem.
Yes, the very little town of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And you are the star.
Oh.
And the critics are the wise men, I hope.
But hopefully they're going to let me get down from the top of the tree one of these days.
Oh, people talk about it when you get down, boy. I don't know. It's that, that dancing you do. It's very white. So it's a white Christmas in Bethlehem, and you're the star. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to Ho Ho Ho's on First, our episode number 42 of Abbott and Costello Meet the Podcast. We are going into 2026, and we have a lot more to do, and we're going to discuss that also, where we're going to go from here. But in the meantime, there's a couple of things I want to mention. Number one, Jerry, how are you? Other than you having the flu, which I hate, how are you doing?
Doing surprisingly well.
Good.
I, to some extent, have taken great pleasure in informing my fellow castmates that in 50-some years of being an actor, I've only ever missed 2 performances. Mm-hmm. And I'm really afraid that record's going to get changed this week.
Well, let me put it this way. You're due.
Yes.
I can't believe you've only missed 2 performances.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, when I was doing, basically upper echelon theater, the Mel Brooks, the producers and all that stuff, I learned how to work the system. And I used to work in my days off, calling in, hello, I'm not feeling very well, blah, blah, blah. And you get a nice night off, which is very, very nice. But, when you're on the road, especially, you don't want to miss shows. There's something much lonelier about being home, knowing that all your buddies are performing at that moment. And that's more about the road than Broadway. Broadway is more like a grunt job. You punch in and you punch out, and that's all there is. But anyway, we're here to talk about Abbott and Costello, aren't we?
Yes.
And all that entails. And they are a comedy team. And there's another comedy team by the name of Wheeler and Woolsey. And I just want to make this announcement. My buddy Jim Neubauer is coming out with his 38th book. And this one is The Films of Wheeler and Woolsey. And mine will be here any day now. I can't wait. Congratulations, Jim. I know you're going to stop now. You're going to retire from writing books after your 40th. And I know that's The Films of Humphrey Bogart, a good one to go out on. Incredible and impressive. Also, I want to mention the Abbott and Costello Monster set that is coming out. It is all of the monster movies, all Meet the Monster movies, including Meet the Killer and Hold That Ghost. They're including that one. Yeah, a great idea. But unfortunately for me, these are all in 4K, which means I would have to buy a 4K player and a 4K television. And I don't have either. So rather than buy these movies I already have on Blu-ray, I would have to spend about $600 for this monster set. And that's a little monstrous for me. So I'm not going to do that. But we are going to celebrate the Christmas holidays with Bud and Lou today. And we've got some wonderful things lined up for you. And we'll announce them as they come. Things here are going well. We just decorated our apartment here on our little island, our beach home, and the weather has gotten a little cooler. It's in the 60s right now.
Ooh.
And it's going up to about 73. And my God, the sun is shining. There's not a cloud in the sky, and it's just beautiful. I'm sorry about everybody going through the tough winters up north and to the west. It's just terrible. My God, this is a biggie. This is a big winter, and it's early. It's happening soon, or now, I should say. Okay, so let's discuss what we're going to do. And I'd like to begin by reading some of the nice letters and questions from our listeners. They did come through, and we have a bunch of them. I can't dwell on them, but I can read them, and Jerry and I will try our best to answer them for you. So, first of all, and Jerry, I'm going to give you a heads up.
Yes.
Matthew Conium, my co-author on the annotated Abbott and Costello, sent a letter to read to all of you. And in the letter, he asks Jerry and I to pick the 3 Abbott and Costello movies we would watch on Christmas Day or during the Christmas holidays. And he gives us his 3 and he asks us for our 3. And when we get to that, I'll come up with mine. But Jerry, I'm giving you a heads up on that.
Thank you.
Think about it. Okay. Sorry about that. So let's get to the first one. This is from a listener in Niagara Falls, Canada, on the Canada side. This is Jack Custers. And I'm not going to make a joke about this being his last stand, but here we go. Hi, Nick and Jerry. I hope all is well. I hope you don't mind me emailing you. You gave out your email during the last ANC podcast looking for comments, questions for the upcoming Christmas episode. I don't have any questions, but I did want to thank you and Jerry for doing the show. Been a fan since episode 1. You two do such an incredible job, and just wanted to pass along my thanks to you both for the time you put into each episode. I have your book and have been recently retired. Plan to watch the boys' films again and follow along. I also wanted to wish you, Jerry, and both your families a wonderful holiday season. Not sure if you ever get up this way, but we have this really neat waterfall here. And if you and your family ever decide to take a vacation up north, you will let me know, and my wife and I can treat you to the sights, or at least dinner. I hope you continue the podcast in whatever direction it takes you next, but thank you again from a Canadian listener you have entertained since the first episode. All the best, and pass along the same to Jerry. Jack Custers, Niagara Falls, Canada. Isn't that beautiful?
Very nice.
Thank you, Jack. That was very sweet of you. And yes, I actually have a cousin in Toronto, and I would mix in visits to both of you once I'm up there. So that could happen. Okay, here's another one. This is from John McGaffick. John McGaffick says, first of all, thank you for making an entertaining podcast on Bud and Lou. Like most of us, my childhood was affected by them. They were shown in Pittsburgh on Sunday mornings in the 1980s, and I tried to never miss it. I was so obsessed as an 8-year-old that I would even hold up a portable cassette recorder so I could listen to audio during the week. I did the same thing, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you too, huh? I figured out how to hook it up to the bottom of my TV so I didn't have to hold it. I do have a couple of quick questions for the show. First of all, listening to the Marx Brother Council podcast, I've heard of numerous scripts and treatments that never got beyond the initial stage tailored for them. Is there anything out there other than Fireman Save My Child that was created for Bud and Lou that never came to fruition? The last question I have is, even though the material is uneven, I'm a big fan of their radio shows. Is there a book or an online archive that gives us a number of surviving shows? Lastly, I'm excited that you've made the decision to continue the podcast beyond Abbott and Costello. I'm looking forward to hearing about more comedians from the golden age that I might have missed. Thank you for all the joy you bring, John. John, that's very kind of you.
Yeah.
Let's go to the first question. Yes, they did have, and in fact, we talk about this in the other podcasts, some of the other podcasts, and it's definitely in our book, The Annotated Abbott and Costello, some of the things that came up that were developed for Bud and Lou and then never done. I have to apologize because of the season and my responsibilities here. I wasn't able to look up a lot of these questions, so I'm just going off the top of my head. But if you look in our book, you'll see throughout the chapters that Universal did have projects that they never got around to, including stuff like where Lou he plays twins in one thing, and there's other stuff. You'll see. You'll read about it. Also, the radio shows. Is there a book or an online archive? If you go to internetarchive.org, I think they have the biggest collection of their radio work. I don't know of a book that lists it or lists them, but I will tell you that they had, I believe it was 7 years on NBC, starting in 1942, I believe, and then they went to ABC for the last 2 years. Their radio show was never that highly rated. It wasn't their main source of entertainment success, but a lot of the shows are entertaining, and there's a definite difference between the NBC shows and the ABC shows, which we'll get into eventually. And yeah, stay tuned, John, because we will be doing other comedians and other films as well. Okay, that was John McGaffick. Now we have one from an old buddy of mine from Los Angeles, my old tennis partner, Larry Hussar. Hussar sounds like a soldier from a foreign land. Send out the hussars. And you hear all the horses going out. Anyway, it says here, Nicholas, in the radio episode where Lou has a horse named Peanut Butter, yeah, I remember that one, there is a racetrack veterinarian played by double talk artist Cliff Nazaro, who does a great bit with Lou about treating the horse so he can run in the race. He also does a great bit in the horse's mouth, but that was eventually cut from the show. He had a gift for making his gibberish sound as if you could almost follow it, enunciating the made-up words clearly rather than a stream of slurred, nonsensical syllables. The only other double talk performer I can recall was Al Kelly in the 1960s, often appearing on the Mike Douglas show, who I felt was good but not quite as adept as Nazaro. Question. Was double talk a popular shtick in early vaudeville or burlesque? Were there other lesser-known performers who did this? And why do you think it no longer finds its way into modern shows? Thanks, your pal, Larry. Larry, that's interesting. There are certain tropes and gimmicks in golden age comedy. One of them being like Limburger cheese, right? If you bring Limburger cheese into an old comedy, it means everybody around suffers from the smell. Alum is another one. Alum, A-L-U-M. Sour, completely sour, and all the comedians used it. They drank alum and they started talking like this. So that was another one. But double talk was another thing. It was a 1940s phenomenon, especially the first half. During the war years, it was a very popular form of entertainment for civilians. People used to do double talk. It was a thing. And Cliff Nazaro was the best of them, I have to say. I always call him a genius because I never heard such great double talk. And when I say double talk, it means they make up 90% of the words they say, but they throw in a real word every so often.
Now take your pencil and write this down. Okay. Dear druggist. Yes. Please give Costello 1 tube of saturbrace with little drops of course and 1 bottle of capsaicin and a jar of Passes salt-free crystalline of hopeless ribotin. Now, have you got that written down?
I got it all but one part.
What part did you miss?
The part that comes after Dear Druggist.
It's very interesting. And if you could ever take a look at Cliff Nazaro, he is just amazing. He's featured in the Fred Astaire, Rita Hayworth movie from Columbia, You'll Never Get Rich, the one where Fred's in the army. So you get a good example of Cliff Nazaro. He was also a singer and an actor. He was very good, a very talented guy. But yes, that was a thing during the 1940s especially. You mentioned Al Kelly. He mostly used to show up on the Ernie Kovacs show. Kovacs loved Al Kelly. But I think Al Kelly was not as good as Cliff Nazaro. Cliff Nazaro just makes me laugh like crazy. Okay, here's another one. Ooh, this is a this is a loaded one. My friend Sam, he asks, Nick, can you include any info on how it came that Abbott and Costello's accountant didn't pay their taxes? Did they have the same accountant? Look forward to hearing your response. Thanks, Sam. Well, Sam, that is an interesting question and something I think about quite a lot. They both had the same accountant. Now, this is from Chris Costello's account of what happened, and I have no reason to mistrust her. They supposedly had the same accountant. This accountant was skimming off the top from the beginning. They had no idea. Eventually, he absconded with a lot of money. He did not file their taxes for a few years in a row. And eventually, they were brought to task for it. Here's my opinion. They were irresponsible. They were responsible for keeping an eye on that accountant. Because they didn't, they suffered. And I suppose, boy, they learned a great lesson. Because Bud, ended up really not impoverished, but not with a lot of money. And Lou, he was the luckier of the two because he was working after they split up and making money. He had to sell his beautiful home in Studio City, but on Long Ridge Avenue. But he eventually moved the family. He owned a ranch also, so they lived there. And he died with about $350,000 in the bank, and that's well over $3 million in today's money. So he died solvent. That was that. Anyway, I do feel they were irresponsible, and they should have kept an eye out, and there was no excuse for what happened. So that's my answer. I think they were irresponsible. Do you have anything to say about that, Jerry?
You've pretty much covered it. I mean, I've always been concerned about people who put such wholehearted trust in somebody else with their finances.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to, the individual. It's your responsibility. It's your money. You need to keep a closer eye on it. But yeah.
Absolutely. And boy, did they blew it. They just blew it.
Yeah.
They were making $1 million a year and they blew it. I don't know. Gambling, bad investments. And they were married to the same women. They didn't lose their money like Stan Laurel did, paying alimony to 100 different women. So, no, this was a tragedy as far as I'm concerned. Okay, here's one from my buddy Ron Stone. Hello, boys. Never truly analyzed this before, but did the movies, TV, and radio shows suffer greatly when the legendary John Grant was not on board with the projects that didn't include his participation? Have a great holiday season, Ron Stone. Ron, you too. You and your family have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas! I'm sorry, that gives me pleasure. Yes, okay. Now, Jerry and I have discussed this on the podcast because there are some movies he was definitely a part of and some movies he was not a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that I go both ways. I feel that he definitely was a boon, a boost to their movies. But there came a time when the movies became more situational. They became a little bit more realistic. They weren't, we're going to do a bit and then we're going to have the Andrews sisters and then we're going to do a dance and then, they were doing stories, actual stories. And there were a few things when John Grant was fired by Lou for not signing his USA pledge or whatever it was. And he went away for a little while and worked for Martin and Lewis and a few others. Their movies, some suffered and some didn't. You had Lost in Alaska, which was a bomb and really could have used John Grant there.
Yeah.
Then, there were some that John wasn't involved in and you didn't miss him. You didn't miss the routines, stopping the movie to do a routine. So, no, I think it goes both ways, Ron. I think some of them suffered and some of them didn't. So anyway, I hope that's a credible answer for you. And Jerry, do you agree or?
Oh, wholeheartedly, yes.
We've discussed it.
I know on a number of episodes, but yeah, when he's present, it's obvious, in my opinion.
Yes.
But when he's absent, not always obvious.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay. Well, that's John Grant. And here's a question from Joe Fury, one of my favorite names in the universe. Joe Fury, F-U-R-E-Y. He says, some fans say they prefer the TV show to the movies. I happen to like the movies more because of their more youthful energy, and the routines and slapstick tend to be sharper and more concise. Curious what you guys thought. Also, what do you say to people who think that Bud can sometimes be too mean to Costello? I usually say it's a product of burlesque and vaudeville, where very broad antics were much more acceptable. And like the Stooges, or even Laurel and Hardy, who are often quite violent themselves, it is meant as burlesque of absurd violence, more like cartoon violence. Curious what you guys think. Joe Fury. Okay, Joe. For me, I think he carried the burlesque relationship. Now, when I say that, Lou even talked about this in interviews, that Bud was the most aggressively violent straight man in burlesque. And comedians loved that because they immediately got the sympathy from the audience. And Bud, who had a tiny ego, didn't mind playing that villainous role in this team. And we've often mentioned in the movies how he could be cold and dismiss Costello, even when Costello's life is in the balance. he just doesn't care. Personally, I wish he were less of that. Sometimes I think he's too mean. Sometimes I think he should have thought about the fact that he was being overly aggressive, and kids used to go up to him and yell at him for being so mean, and he took it as a badge of honor because that's what he thought his job was, and it was in burlesque. I think he should have tempered it for the movies. It's a little too much, I think. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I'm in agreement. There are certain moments in the films where I think he does carry it a bit too far. The one that always pops up in my brain is from Pardon My Sarong, when they're on board the ship and facing starvation, and he gives Lou a gun, says, "You know what to do." I mean, that's really the epitome.
Can you imagine? You imagine Oliver Hardy? Yes. I mean, they did see Laurel and Hardy did scenes where they commit suicide, at least 2 or 3 times. But no, this is Bud. I don't know. I got to tell you about Bud. My second wife, who was a fine comedian, and we worked together in improv and all that. I really trusted her comic sensibilities. And when we got married, it turned out that every morning, Monday through Friday, this was in Florida, they showed an Abbott and Costello movie. And she had never seen one. She was not an old movie fan. So we started watching the Abbott and Costello movies, and she had 2 opinions. One was Lou Costello was the cutest person she ever saw. Yep. And number 2, why was Bud Abbott getting equal billing? Why was he considered a part of this? He's like taking a free ride on Lou. That's what she thought. She thought, who is he? Why does he, what is his purpose? And I find that very interesting. And as we were doing these podcasts, and as I was writing the book, as I was looking at the movies, again and again, I'm tending to think that Bud would have been happy to stay in burlesque. When it came time for them to move up, and Lou was the most ambitious person in the world, I think Bud would have been perfectly happy to live out the rest of his life as a straight man in burlesque. And I also think he would have been perfectly happy never to do another routine, a new routine again. He was constantly hoping they would do familiar stuff. And, he's great at the routines. And people are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to say it. Other than the routines they do, I think anyone could have played Bud's part. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. I think people like Richard Lane, the actor, the fast-talking, con man actor, or any number of talented actors could have done the stuff that Bud did with Lou that weren't burlesque routines. When people say that Bud was the greatest straight man that ever lived, I have to agree with them, but with this codicil, in those routines, he was the greatest straight man. Yeah. I don't think, he was good in the movies. He was, and he's a good actor. But, the bottom line is in this crazy upside down world where the Three Stooges are considered the greatest old time comedians of all time, which tells you everything you need to know about today's culture. I don't know. I just feel like everything is upside down. So many people I know think Bud is funnier than Lou. And I've discussed this before, but I just think that's ridiculous. Lou is the star of the act. He's the most versatile, the most layered, and he is the one who wanted to go beyond all the routines, just the routines. Anyway, I know I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for that, but again, Bud, great, but limited as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my answer to that. And let's see. Here's another one. John Hall, and not the one from Hurricane or from Universal Island movies. He says, is it true that Universal had considered doing an Abbott and Costello film pairing them with Woody Woodpecker? No. Okay, moving on. I'm not giving that any attention, any more attention than it deserves. Okay, so where are we? I just lost my place. I should have paid my rent. Okay, here we are. This is a good question from my friend Bill Valley. In the Abbott and Costello TV series, they played out-of-work actors sharing single-room occupancy. Did any episode ever show them actually getting an acting job? I can only think of one, and it's in the second season, and it's when they play the Confederates. They play Southern characters sitting on the porch, and they're eating cake that's filled with feathers. You know, the what they did in the naughty 90s, where what is it?
Potholders. Yeah.
The potholders. I don't know. It's too early, Jerry. We're recording earlier than we normally do, and I'm just not awake yet. I'm so sorry. But the potholder got into the cake, and of course, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the only one I can think of. They get hired to do that play. Otherwise, they're always unemployed. Okay. Our next question is from Michael Weber. And Michael Weber says, hey guys, here's a question for the podcast. What are your thoughts on the assertion that Bud and Lou were disengaged and even lazy, not learning their lines, more interested in on-set poker games, accepting poor quality scripts, generally phoning in when it came to the quality control of their movies beyond their brilliant delivery of their burlesque routines, when it came to making their films? Certainly, as one of the biggest money makers at the studio, they could have demanded more quality control, but didn't. I fear they themselves contributed to their legacy of being perceived as less than in comparison to other great film comedians. That's probably the best question yet. And I have a lot to say about it. As far as them being lazy, Groucho Marx said that about them. He thought they were very lazy, depending on old routines constantly. They did request better scripts, better casts, Technicolor, and Universal just turned their backs and said, nope, we're not doing it. They had to leave the studio to actually get their first color films. Now, that's not saying that they were entirely innocent. They weren't. They were two guys used to going in and just having a good time. They, would go in, they'd find out what the scene was about, and they would just go with it. It was improvisational. Now, if you think that's lazy, well, let me tell you this. I'm a comic actor. I have been for 50 years. And my favorite shows to do are shows where there's a strong foundation, but they let me ad-lib and actually use my own devices. And it always works beautifully. Abbott and Costello were from the same cloth. I should say I'm from the same cloth they're from. And they were improvisational geniuses. They would come in, and I can't believe, sometimes when I'm watching the films and I know that they didn't look at the script, they just asked the director, what do you want here? It's amazing to me that they were able to do what they did under those circumstances. Not everyone could. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but they did request better quality everything, and Universal just didn't give it to them. But you have to understand that Universal did give them money, and they made a lot of it. So what are you going to do? You're going to turn your back on that kind of money? No, you're going to take your independent films and try to make them better and more to your liking. And that's what they did. So that's my answer. I think that as compared to other great film comedians, you had Stan Laurel, who was a brilliant gag man. He couldn't write a story, but he was a brilliant gag man. And he was, regarded as one of the great masters of film comedy. But I think that the boys were just as good and just as effective, but with a completely different technique. That's all it was. It was a different technique. Now, you had the other end of the spectrum. You had Chaplin, who took, 3 years to make a movie because he could. It was his money. He didn't have to answer to anybody. But Bud and Lou were working in a factory. They were working at the Universal factory, making one movie after another because Universal knew they were going to make a fortune on these two guys. And, if you want to blame someone, blame Universal. Abbott and Costello did everything they could to get better treatment at the studio. Okay, so that was for Michael Weber. And we even have more. This is crazy. I hope that people are enjoying this because I was looking forward to hearing from you guys. I hear from you on YouTube. Sometimes you write to me and tell me that you're enjoying stuff and everything, and that's very nice. Okay, my buddy Angelo Mad Dog, he's from the What's the Buzz podcast, which I've done a couple of times. He's asking about Lou's health and that he didn't take care of himself and all that stuff. Lou had a rheumatic heart. He got very sick when they did their big war bond tour, which lasted the entire summer, and they did like 190,000 cities in 4 days. And Lou got very sick. He almost died. And this condition continued throughout his career, throughout his life. And he would have to stop and not work for anything between 3 months and a year. He would have to lay in bed and not do anything. So it was very difficult for him. What kills me, and I know I've spoken to Jerry about this, is when you watch him work, whether it's a movie or the live TV show or their film TV show, he kills himself. He actually killed himself in front of us. He was a very sick man, and his physicality was like incredible. His falls, when people are beating him up, when Mr. Fields is beating him up, you see him, he's sweating and he's working. So Lou, yes, was very ill, but he was such an incredible trooper that he did not let it hold him back. But not just Lou, Bud was very sick. Bud had epilepsy, for crying out loud, and lived in total fear of having fits, especially in front of people. It was not looked upon as a good thing back then, or as a good thing. It was not, excuse me, it was not looked upon as a typical thing. In fact, they kind of compared it or placed it with mental illness, which was very strange. So poor Bud had to live with that in the back of his mind constantly. So both boys had trouble. Okay, here's a question from Phil Hall. And this is an interesting one, and I don't have a definite answer, but I think I know this. The question is, were Abbott and Costello ever presenters at either an Academy Awards or Emmy Awards presentation? Thanks, Phil Hall. Phil, I'm going to say no. There are no pictures showing that, that they were at either one of these events, whether it was as presenters or as members of the audience. Lou said in interviews that he felt like the Academy was so snobby, not to even look at them, or people who did low comedy. And that continues even today. So no, I don't think Abbott and Costello were a part of that world. I'm not sure if they wanted to be. Yeah. Maybe if there was a burlesque award ceremony, I think they would show up to that. And you would find Lou in the audience. You just follow the cigar smoke. Those cigars. But anyway, that's my answer, Phil. I don't think they did. They were not part of the Hollywood upper echelon. Okay, here's another one. This is from my buddy Mike Alfano, who I met for lunch one day while I was traveling. Great guy. Hello, Nick and Jerry. Enjoy your podcasts. I did have a question I was curious about if you get to cover the Abbott and Costello cartoons from the 1960s. Around the same time of the cartoons, Carlton Comics did a series of Abbott and Costello comic books. Was Bud Abbott Lou Costello, were either of their estates compensated for these? And were they compensated for the comic books in the late 40s and 50s? Thanks, Mike Alfano. Mike, I believe that they were, especially in the 40s and 50s. I don't think they were compensated later during the 1960s. The images they used were owned by Hanna-Barbera. But, these cartoons were interesting for one reason, and that was Bud's voice. We got to hear Bud's final work. And, they should, there's this one picture of him in the studio in front of the microphone with the script in front of him. And he doesn't look real happy, but I'm sure, it was a job, and it was his final job. Before completely retiring. So yeah, I think they got money from the earlier comic books, just as they got money for the films that they released on Castle Films. But the later ones, that was Hanna-Barbera. Okay, so that was for my buddy Mike. And let's see where we're going here. We have Charlie Christ sent me a whole thing about Coy Watson, which I discussed on the podcast last time. So I'm not going to go through that again, but thank you anyway for that. And is that it? Oh, Nathan Brown. Dear team, I guess that's you and me, Jerry. Yeah, I think we're yoked together. I'm just joking. I have enjoyed every episode of your podcast and want to thank you dearly for every minute of entertainment and history you have brought to the world. I am writing in regards to your upcoming episode for which you have asked for ideas, comments, and questions. I would like a bit of a deeper dive into the streets of Paris. Is there a script available anywhere publicly that we can read and get a better vision of the play? Do you have access to any of the lines that were used in the performance? Is there any way to reconstruct the scenes based on photos? Also, the music. I know there are music sheets available for purchase on eBay, but has any of it been recorded for us to listen and enjoy? I just want to know more about the play in general and what the plot and script were about. I would also like to mention the moving of the Empire Theater at Times Square, where it was pulled by balloons of Abbott and Costello. This is worth a look and maybe a little discussion on your show. There are links to that, by the way, on YouTube. Again, have you ever played the Abbott and Costello board game? I have the game and have only ever played it once. And if they made a board game, how come they never made a video game? I wish there was one, but I doubt kids nowadays would know who these two are and why they have a game. Can you touch on or even do a whole episode on memories of Bud and Lou's first Abbott and Costello convention? I ripped this off of VHS and put it on my channel a while back. I actually watched it, and it's interesting. Maybe I'll include the link, but it's, memories of Abbott and Costello, the Abbott and Costello convention. Just put that in your search engine on YouTube. Lastly, a personal question request. Do you mind if I wear a dress to you? No, I'm kidding. Do you have an extra copy of Africa Screams on Blu-ray? I missed that boat, and it is the only Blu-ray I need to complete my collection. I will probably think of more, but this is all I have for now. Thanks for your time, and thanks again for the podcast. Nathan Brown. All right. Well, Nathan, that's a mouthful. Yeah. My copy of Africa Screams is the DVD version. I do not have it on Blu-ray. It is one of the few that I don't have on Blu-ray. Memories of Bud and Lou, yes. People can go on and put that into the search engine. I've never even heard of an Abbott and Costello board game, although someone sent me a picture of one recently. So I know there was one, but I never saw it and I never played it. The Empire Theater, I remember when that happened. That was very exciting. Two huge balloons that you might see in the Macy's parade pulling the Empire Theater, which they moved to Times Square. And I've been there many times. It's now a movie theater. And that's apparently where Abbott and Costello did their first performing together as a team. Yeah. Now, this is the interesting question, I feel, about the streets of Paris. You have to understand, back in those days, in the 20s, 30s, early 40s, they had things called revues. They were musical comedy revues, basically high-class vaudeville shows. And they would usually star a great comedian like Burt Lahr or Bobby Clark or, Clark and McCullough, people like that, the Marx Brothers. And the shows would be built around these personalities. And it gave them free rein to ad lib and play and do the things they do best. That was The Streets of Paris. It was a review. It didn't have a plot. It had vaudeville acts. It had Carmen Miranda coming out with her band to do some songs. It had Bobby Clark coming out to do sketches. Now, I can tell you this. I don't know anything about the music or music sheets or anything like that, but things were not being recorded back then. They were not recording, soundtracks and things like that. I think that began just a few years later, like 43, 44, or else maybe someone can correct me. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I'm just saying that's what I've heard. But The Streets of Paris, willy-nilly, crazy, sketches. Abbott and Costello did the drill bit. They did the lemon table bit. They did a scene with Bobby Clark that takes place in a music store. And I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube. It might be. There is a Colgate Comedy Hour hosted by Bobby Clark where he does that routine in the music shop with two other comedians. So you could see an actual scene from The Streets of Paris. So really, that's all I know about it. It was a review starring Bobby Clark, who was one of the biggest comedy stars on Broadway at the time. And I was thinking that Bud, who was in vaudeville maybe 15 years before Lou even got involved, must have known Bobby Clark from those days, because Bobby Clark, or I should say Clark and McCullough, were big burlesque stars.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that Bud was, was like a hello again, So that's all I know about that. And I want to thank you all for those questions and comments. And it's so nice to know that you guys are enjoying what we do. Isn't that nice, Tony?
Yeah, it's this sort of an experience always feels like a one-way street. We're putting this out there and hoping that someone is listening and responding. And so it's always good to hear some feedback.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I do get it on the YouTube page. There are usually about 4 or 5 comments, about the episode, which is very nice. And I appreciate that, folks. Now, I just want to read an email from my buddy, Matthew Conium, my co-writer on the annotated Abbott and Costello. If you don't have it, it's a great Christmas gift. And here we go. I'm not going to read it in a British accent. just for my buddy. Here we go. Hi, neighbors. This is Matthew, Nick's co-writer, wishing my pals at the podcast and all of its listeners a very Merry Christmas. Would Christmas be Christmas without Bud and Lou? Not for me. As I've done for the last few years, I'll be setting aside some time over the holidays for an Abbott and Costello triple bill. How do I decide which films to include? It's simple. First, I pick one film from their canon for a specific reason. Last year, it was Dance With Me, Henry, because I had been so taken with its sweetness and simplicity when I was working on the book. I'm among friends here, so I can confess that until Nick and I started on the book, I had never actually seen this one, so it still feels very fresh to me. Then I pick a film completely at random. Last year, it was Hit the Ice, perfect for Christmas. And lastly, I pick Jack and the Beanstalk because it's Christmas and duh. Oh, that's good. This year, alongside Jack, I have selected In Society. This is another one that rose very strongly in my estimation when we were writing. I'd always enjoyed it, but when I was watching them all in a block, it really stood out for me as one of their most effortlessly sustained flights of hilarity. Considering where Lou was in his life at that point, I find it all the more admirable. He had just lost his son. And the random choice generator this year has selected Buck Privates Come Home. Nice work, random generator. As well as being great fun, I really respond to this film's wistful sense of time passing, the impermanence of things, and the importance of love and loyalty. All perfect themes for Yuletide contemplation. So I'd like to ask the podcast hosts what they would choose for a seasonal triple. You can make your selection any way you choose, and you don't have to include Jack. But if you don't, you're crazy. Merry Christmas from Matthew Conium. Thank you, Matthew, for that. I appreciate that.
Yes,
I'd appreciate it even more if you do a guest spot on our show, but you can think about that. So how about that, Jer?
That was awfully nice. Awfully nice.
He's a good dude. He really is.
He really is. And I can
Mm-hmm.
fully understand his duh with Jack, because I have always been a fan of the British pantomime, the
Yes.
Christmas pantomime tradition, and have
Mm-hmm.
felt that it would really go over well. I think it would go over well in this country if done properly. But
Oh, yeah.
nobody seems to want to try.
Actually, I have to disagree.
Okay.
In Los Angeles, over the past maybe 5 to 10 years, one of the theaters, it might even have been the Pasadena Playhouse, does a Christmas pantomime every year. And my friend
Hmm.
Barry Pearl was cast as the main comedian. And I auditioned once, but I never got past a certain point. And it's the perfect thing for me because you could ad lib and you can play with
Yep.
the audience, and that's my specialty. But they are doing Christmas pantomimes in this country,
Okay.
but not like in England, that's for
No.
sure. But it's so funny that I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Did you have more? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was going to continue on with my choices,
Oh, go
taking up
ahead. Go ahead.
Matthew's challenge, and I find it interesting. You had, prepped me on this earlier in our episode here, so I had made some notes, and I had included Jack and the Beanstalk in mine
Oh boy.
before even hearing that, and for that very reason as well, because Christmas, always the family and fantasy and fun. So
Hmm.
I've got Jack as well as Captain Kidd, because
Hmm.
to me that's one of their funnest fantasy-ish sort of a film. And
Hmm.
then just rounding it out would be Time of Their Lives,
Oh,
because
wonderful.
yeah, it's just first of all, such a different story for them. We've
Hmm.
talked about this before,
Yeah.
but also that it has that. Uh, I don't know why, but it's got a holiday feel to me. So there
Yeah.
you
Oh,
go.
I agree. It's sentimental. You
Yep.
know, it's loving. It's all the things the holidays are. So I think that's a wonderful choice. I think it's very interesting that you chose to speak of Christmas pantomime because that's why I choose as my first choice. And this is not the first time. I try to watch this every Christmas. Abbott and Costello Meet Captain Kidd.
Hmm.
It's colorful, it's costume, it's got my favorite actor in it, Charles Lawton.
Yeah.
The music is fun, when the lovers aren't singing.
Yeah.
But it is basically a Christmas pantomime. And
Hmm.
I always looked at it that way. It's these guys singing and they're in costume and Bud and Lou are going nuts. So that would be my first choice for Christmas. I'm not gonna do Jack and the Beanstalk this year. My second choice we're watching today, and that would be the Abbott and Costello Christmas Show from the Colgate Comedy Hour,
Mm.
which I watch every year. And the other one would be a funny one that makes me laugh like crazy, and that's Pardon My Sarong.
Ah,
Now,
yes.
I guess the only connection to Christmas would be, "Would you like to spend Christmas on Christmas Island?" That
Mm.
that song. But other than that, it's one of my favorite Abbott and Costello movies, and I think it's one of the funniest. So, Pardon My Sarong, Captain Kidd, and the Colgate Comedy Hour Christmas Show. So those are my choices.
Okay.
Okay. So, are we going to start watching with our friends? And
Let's.
yeah, why don't we do that? And I think we're going to start just like as if we were in a movie theater back in 19, let's say 43. They would show a cartoon and then a short and then the film. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with a Hanna-Barbera production of an Abbott and Costello cartoon, and I forget the name of it. Lunar Ticks, I think it's called. Lunar Ticks, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
they go to outer space. But before we start this, I just want to read one thing from my buddy Hal Erickson. He's an author and a film historian, and he wrote a book called Television Cartoon Shows, an Illustrated Encyclopedia. He gave the cartoons a negative review, stating that Abbott and Costello episodes were difficult to tell apart. He stated that virtually every one of them features the Tubby Costello being pursued by some bug-eyed monster or giant-sized garden pest, and that none of the classic verbal exchanges which brought the real Abbott and Costello to fame in the first place are evident. So there you go. They were produced between September 1967 and June 1968. That's where when they were broadcast. And
Mhm.
again, it gave Bud some work when he needed it very badly. So Let's go with the Abbott and Costello cartoon.
Okay.
We'll have to
Get it.
start together on 0 with Jerry's countdown. This is
Roll.
called Luna Tricks from 1968.
Okay, and here we go with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin.
Oh, it sounds like Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Ah! I better lower the sound a little.
And it always opens up with an interior shot of Costello's mouth.
Bud Abbott as himself. And Stan Irwin as Costello. Yep. Now, I don't understand. I just don't understand how they chose this guy. He's horrible. And he was a good friend of the team. He was the head of entertainment during their last gig in Las Vegas, which Lou actually sang a song, a straight Christmas song, in that last show they did called Christmas is the Warmest Time of Year. And he sang it completely straight. And it got really great reviews in the show. So anyway, Stan Irwin was the head of entertainment at that time. But he does a terrible Lou Costello. I'm sorry.
He does.
These Hanna-Barbera cartoons, whether they were Abbott and Costello or Laurel and Hardy or, any of those, they're just pretty lame, bad animation. Look at that. I would watch these cartoons and my mother would be screaming from upstairs, "Will you turn that down? I can't stand that voice." That was Stan Irwin.
Yep.
I just don't get it. And what's even more impossible about these things that I just can't understand, Michael Maltese from Warner Brothers, from Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies, Chuck Jones's partner, who wrote some of the greatest cartoons ever made, including What's Opera Doc and the ones with, Rabbit Season, Duck Season. Michael Maltese was in charge of these things, and they're terrible. They're just terrible. He had such a history. I mean, he worked for Leon Schlesinger, of course. He worked for Walter Lantz, Hanna-Barbera, Chuck Jones Productions. I mean, he was one of the greats. And look at what he was doing. Who came up with this stuff? It's like, let's sit down at a meeting and discuss what Abbott and Costello would never do. And let's make cartoons of them. It's crazy. It really is. Yeah, but they were all the same. They were all the same. They all had these impossible monsters. I guess they were trying to, go along with the trope of their Meet the Monsters movies.
Yeah.
The same company that made the Three Stooges, the new Three Stooges cartoons, was Cambria Productions, and they were originally supposed to do these cartoons, but Hanna-Barbera took over and they made them, and it was actually pitched by Eddie Sherman. He's the one that went to Hanna-Barbera and said, "Let's do Abbott and Costello," and they said yes. So Eddie actually did something good for Bud towards the end. So yeah. Stan Irwin. He died in 2015, not too long ago. And he was 95 years old. Wow. And I hear he died after watching 3 of these cartoons in a row. I think that's what killed him. Great people on these things, though. Mel Blanc shows up in most of them. Don Messick, Hal Smith, Janet Waldo, the great Janet Waldo, who was a good friend of my old Biffle and Schuster partner, Will Ryan. He used to have dinner with her all the time. And again, there was a comic book based on these by Carlton Comics, and those ran for 22 issues from February 1968 till August 1971. Look at this monster. It's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And where's Abbott? This is like one of their movies. Lou, you do nothing with jeans, and I'll be over here washing the car. Oh, there. Finally. It's a good drawing of Bud. I think they caught Bud.
Yes.
I actually have a cell from this cartoon series. It's just Lou, but it's an actual cell from this. Yeah. Pretty cool. Costello, where are you? I think we should chip in and teach Bud how to clear his throat.
There you go.
Boy, Lou is more like Popeye.
Mm. Bud's
Certainly.
something.
Bud, you just slap him.
Yeah.
Just slap him to death. What's the deal? Come on, Lou, let's go. Oh
Yes.
my.
They have to
Okay.
laugh at the end so that the rest of us know that it was supposed to be funny.
I'll tell you, I love Bud and I'm glad he got the work, but boy, oh boy, even he must have known these scripts were just awful. I feel bad. It's too bad. It could have been a good thing, but it wasn't. Anyway, and the next thing we're going to show and discuss as we watch is one of my favorites. If you're a fan of the filmed television show, the Abbott and Costello show, this is an episode that really resonated with me, especially when I was a child. Now, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but this one used to make me cry like a baby. And I mean, I was, not even 10 yet, but I felt so sorry for Lou. And this is the classic example of Bud being a total bastard, in this one, and it used to make me very uncomfortable when I was a child, and I just cried for Lou. It was terrible. But anyway, it's built that way. I mean, now I'm older and I could see it's built that way to get the pathos for Costello and, for us to worry about his birthday and him spending it alone. So let's watch that episode. It's a good one. My favorite moment is Mr. Fields' birthday gift to Lou, and you'll see that when the time comes. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, here we go. This is the birthday party.
Okay, we got it queued up here, and so we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. Gosh, that music sounds familiar.
That theme song sounds familiar. Sounds very familiar to me. I love this opening.
Oh yes, this film collection here opening has
Yeah.
always been my favorite.
Definitely. Written by Eddie Foreman and produced by Alex Gottlieb. Now, this is only for the first 5 episodes, I believe, and then they left, and Gene Yarborough took over as producer and director for the rest of the series. And this is the Joe Besser, yay! Alvia Allman, who was played Mrs. Niles on their radio show for 7 years, and also worked on their ABC show as well.
Yeah. I have to say, I've always preferred first season over second season because of this setup. The whole concept of we're doing a show, and let's set it up, and then we'll bring the audience in.
Yes, exactly, and it gives it kind of that live feeling,
Yeah.
What there's one thing I wanted to discuss while we're here with the Bud and Lou show, the laugh track. Now, it's legend that Abbott and Costello, well, Lou owned the show. It was Lou's show.
Right.
And Bud was on salary. So he didn't make the decisions here. So it was Lou and Gene Yarborough and whatever. Pat Costello was also a producer. But whatchamacallit, they say that they took the finished film and showed it to a theater full of people and recorded the response. And then, sweetened it as it needed it along the way. I don't believe it. I'm sorry.
No.
It just seems too unbelievable for me.
No.
Lou was a very cost-conscious producer. He did not like to spend a lot of money. And when he did overspend on this show, which he did, he had to cut back on the second season, which is obvious because the second season is bare bones, no music, very, very, the quality of the film stock is not as good. Um, and, whatever. Uh, so I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think number one, there would be photographs, taken, maybe, of the audiences, or Bud and Lou maybe at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like too much effort for something that was already a typical thing. The laugh track was already a typical, easy thing to do. So I don't know. I just think it's a laugh track.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's just got that sound to it. I mean, yeah, you if you sweeten an actual live audience, it will sound a little more artificial, but this just sounds straight artificial. It's a laugh track.
Yeah, and not only that, the timing of the laughs. They often cut into the dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
or it starts before the punchline. It's just weirdly timed, and I never liked it. And it's why I prefer the live show to their film show. And the film show is great. I mean, they're doing
Yeah.
their routines. It's just straight Abbott and Costello. And here's Sid Fields doing what he did best. This is what his routine that he did
Yep.
for years in burlesque, and then Abbott and Costello. But Sid Fields was a burlesque performer, and he was hired by Eddie Cantor in the early 30s or mid 30s to write on his radio show and appear as a character called Mr. Guffey, where he did basically what he's doing right now with Eddie Cantor. I mean, he's doing right now with Lou Costello, but he would do it with Eddie Cantor on the radio. And eventually he joined the Abbott and Costello writing staff of their radio show, and also appeared, again, doing this kind of thing. He appeared in a few of their movies doing the same bit.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he ended up, after Lou died, actually Lou hired him to play straight in Lou's last show in Las Vegas. But then after Lou died, Jackie Gleason, who was a good friend of Lou's, picked up Sid Fields and hired him for his TV show. And Sid would come out and do this exact same thing with Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatchamacallit? So Sid plied his trade through all of those decades. He ended up in Las Vegas, living in Las Vegas, where he had his own column in a local paper. It was like a gossip column where he talked about what was going on in Las Vegas, about his history and all that stuff. I would love to get a collection of his stuff, that he wrote for the paper, but I have no idea what paper it was.
Yeah.
So, and he passed away in the mid-1970s. But boy, was he a trooper, and did he add to this show. It was almost like he was the third member of the team.
Yes.
And look at him. And where's Bud? Bud's like in a sauna,
Yeah.
drinking a mint julep while he's having a foot massage. And poor Lou is killing himself. Oh, I love this routine. I just love this routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! What do you think? Ice cream? Sour cream? What is that?
Who knows
And
what it
there's
actually
Bud.
was?
Bud's out looking for his mustache.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. I always thought that was interesting. Their little kitchenette.
Yeah.
It's such a small, shoddy apartment. And look at that. It's got the one shelf. It's got the little oven, the sink. There's Bud in a nutshell.
Yep.
If I can help you, I won't. There we go. Look at that. And there's a fly swatter. What is that? What's the opening?
The syrup.
Oh, oil.
He's making fudge.
Oh, look at that. Oh, this one used to kill me, Jerry. It just
Yep.
used to kill me. It's glue. He got glue. That's glue Costello.
Yeah.
Stick to it, though. This is like Here Come the Co-eds, the kitchen scene.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being poor Lou and you have to rely on Bud Abbott for help?
Yeah.
This is just like, here come the coeds. You can't do a thing right. Certainly. So this show, each season was 26 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and Lou blew it. I have to say, he was not the businessman. He kept waiting for a better deal, you know? He was offered a deal, I think it was by CBS, and that would have been great because it would have been a network show. And he just waited. Well, maybe there'll be a better deal, maybe a better deal. And finally, he took a syndication deal, which a few people were doing around this time. Eddie Cantor, for one, switched his show over to syndication. But in doing so, they hurt themselves. Number one, it turns out the money was not as good for Lou. He blew it. He waited too long. And secondly, it's sold to markets separately. It's a product sold separately. There's Elvira Allman. She was the Mrs. Niles on their radio show. And you always see her on Petticoat Junction and Andy Griffith and all those shows. She was wonderful. But what was I saying before that?
The syndication.
Yes. The show was sold to about 40 stations around the country, but it meant that there was no rhyme or reason. One city would start with this episode, another city would start with a different episode. It was never in order. It was just very willy-nilly, and Lou should have taken the network deal. He would have died a very, very rich man.
Yeah.
But now this is syndication. And there's my buddy Mike the cop. I love this. This used to make me laugh. A real police whistle. It doesn't work. You'll have a lot of fun with it. This is Gordon Wynnivo, Wynnnivo. That was his middle name. Wynnivo Jones. Gordon Jones, born in 1911 in Alden, Iowa. He was a member of John Wayne's stock company. He's in a lot of John Wayne movies. John really liked him, and Lou liked him a lot. First used him in Wistful Widow of Wagon Gap as the villain, Jake Frame. And he's also in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Danny Kaye. Yeah. And he's sort of Danny Kaye's nemesis, and I always root for Gordon Jones.
Yeah.
And he was the original Green Hornet in movie serials. And he was also a leading man in B movies in the late 1930s, early 40s. He died of a heart attack at the age of 52 in 1963. Same age as Lou. Look at this. This is it. This is my favorite part of the show. And look at how he's dressed. That top hat. Oh, Mr. Fields. This is so dirty. It's filthy. That picture. I just love the fact that that's what he wanted to give him as a picture of him in an 1890s bathing suit, smoking a cigar in a bathtub. I know, that's on my list. Oh, and speaking of beautiful, tall women.
Oh, yes.
There's Hillary. Beautiful Hillary. Yay! The comic book. Terry and the used car dealers. At least the villains were, real villains. Okay, so he's putting together the antipasto hors d'oeuvres. And of course, instead of the antipasto, He put something that sounds like antipasto, and we're talking about ant paste, which kills ants. You should talk to my uncle about that.
Huh? Jeez.
Look at Mr. Fields spitting out the food into Lou's face. What's the matter with you? It's his birthday, bud. Lighten up. Now, you see, Bud handled that piece of slapstick very well.
Yes.
Now look at everybody. Everybody's getting sick from the ant paste. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I imagine the water level, the water pressure in that building is going to be much lower in a minute,
Hmm?
if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that apartment's in Flushing. Oh, this is where I used to get very sad. Aw. Now remember, it's his birthday. Look at Lou.
Mm.
He looks like a sad 8-year-old. Now get out of here! Now the thing is, Bud didn't mind doing things like this. Every child in America hated him at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And he didn't mind. He didn't mind. This was his burlesque responsibility to be as cruel and as violent as possible to make the comic more sympathetic. He even slams the door on him. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Oh, Bud. This is where I would lose it. I felt so sorry for him. And let's face it, he was our buddy. He was a child, just like we were,
Yeah.
at this time.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that Mr. Fields had the worst taste in wallpaper I've
Mm.
ever seen. Oh, I remember this. Oh, uh, that was a great touch, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, I'm tearing up a little. I don't know about you, Jerry, but I'm tearing up again. This episode just does it to me. But that was a beautiful bit of writing because we needed that now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You needed to temper this kind of stuff. Boy. Not only get out of the apartment building, but get out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And this used to get me too, when he'd come out of the curtain alone without Abbott.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. So here he is walking along the Hal Roach studio back lot where the first season was shot. The second season was shot at the General Service Studios where they shot Abbott and Costello v. Captain Kidd.
Ah.
Yeah, on Sunset Boulevard. I used to pass it all the time. See, now Lou's going to do a good deed and help this little old lady across the street.
Yeah, this time he is identifying as a scout as opposed to the other times where he identifies as, a campfire girl.
Yeah, a campfire girl or a Girl Scout.
Yeah.
Wait, Hal Roach had a good backlot. I'm recognizing this from A Chump at Oxford. when they're
Oh,
street
yeah.
cleaners. Laurel and Hardy are street cleaners.
Yep.
Same set. She didn't want us to cross the street, and she breaks the cane over his head. And of course, Mike is right there. Mike the cop is
Of
right there,
course.
ready to run him in.
Never a cop around when you need one unless Lou gets hit on the head.
Mike.
Yeah.
Unless it's Mike. I'm going to run you in, Costello. Oh, one last hit on the head. See, you try to be nice. Oh, this is funny. And Mike is right there.
Panhandling without a license.
Yeah, get out of this neighborhood. It's like everybody drank Bud Abbott juice this morning. Who is that? He looks a little like Hank Mann, the Senate comic. Oh, Lou. Now Lou's crossing the street. Cars are barely missing him. Ooh. You know, usually they have a stuntman doing stuff like that, really. You know, when cars get that close.
Yeah.
Oop, there's the stuntman.
There's the stuntman.
Yeah, stinky Joe Besser knocking over Lou and hitting him. I got to meet Joe Besser in 1982, I believe it was. And he was just as sweet as he could be. Such a nice man.
Nice.
And I have a nice picture of the two of us, and I'm wearing a curly shirt, which I thought was interesting. Oh, Lou. Look at all those old ads. Oh, ukuleles in the window. That's going to be the name of my autobiography, Ukuleles in the Window. And there's cakes, wedding cakes, birthday cakes. I wonder who runs that bakery. It must be someone who knows how to cook, knows how to
Probably.
bake cakes. Lou's feeling kind of bouncy. Lou's going to take matters into his own hands. Oh. He's good at cry talk. You know, that's cry talk.
Oh, yeah.
Not everyone could do that well. There he goes. Mr. Butchagaloop! Of all people.
What a surprise.
What a shock. That's Joe Kirk, of course, Lou's brother-in-law. Married his sister Marie and was just about a year away from divorcing Marie, and that in turn divorced the entire Costello family, which means he was not in any more of their movies.
Yeah.
Or TV shows. That must have been a tough decision for Joe, you know? You give up the wife, you give up the career.
Yeah.
This is so funny. I love this section. This section takes away a lot of the sadness from the episode itself. And I think, again, this is another brilliant move. You take him out of, you know, the norm, and you put him in a very funny situation to balance the sadness. And where the hell is Bud Abbott? Again, Bud Abbott's on a lounge chair, probably on a cruise somewhere. You know, going. Maybe he's walking the streets of Paris. Who knows?
Yeah.
But he's not there. Boy, they're getting mad at each other. This only perpetuates the stereotype that Italians yell a lot.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what perpetuates that stereotype?
What?
Italians who actually yell a lot. I come from a family full of them. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, it's funny. A friend of mine made a half-hour pilot film, and he did it with AI, and it really, you know, it looks pretty good. But it's all about, you know, Italians living in Queens, and every stereotype you could possibly imagine is part of it. They don't talk to each other; they scream at each other. Every other word is the F-bomb. You know, the men hit the women and all that stuff. I didn't know anyone like that. I'm
Yeah.
I'm an Italian American. I grew up in an Italian American family.
Yep.
We read books. We spoke properly. You
Yep.
know, we were good to each other. My mother and father. My father would never
Mm.
abuse my mother. It's
No.
just
No.
so I watch these people, and they're like from another realm. I don't recognize them. Not part of my thing or my experience. You like the marshmallows? Gesù femmina che va bene per una cabeça, mette la base, cosa dices? Marshmallows. I love it's their theme song every time they show the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun. Lou is very, very precise about the cake he wants for his birthday.
Yes.
He's going to make up for all of the that disastrous party. But at least he has that picture of Mr. Fields, that he could go to for strength and
Yeah.
support. He was just in there for 5 minutes. His initials. Now, did he go in with all this stuff in his mind that this is what he wanted?
Who knows?
Jeez. Yeah.
My main question is, did he go in there realizing that eventually he was going to have to actually pay for this cake?
But I thought I heard him say earlier that I don't have a nickel, I don't have a dime,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Bacha. I love that he has his shoes on the counter. He keeps his shoes in the cake box.
Mm.
There it is. Look at that cake. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Fit for a king. Bachagaloop. He's got to see it. He's got to go up there and see it.
Yep.
Uh, he's going to eat the cake there. And of course, his face ends up in it. There's your cake, Lou. I think it would have been funny if he pushes the cake, it pushes his face in the cake, and his face comes up, and his initials are on his face.
Yep. Yep.
See, this gives it a live feeling. Lou comes out with the towel, wiping the cake off his face.
Yeah.
And
he
he
still
was-
had his shoes in his hand.
And his shoes, yeah. And Bud is trying to make up now. See? Bud's saying, see, I'm a good guy. Lou's message. Mm-hmm. You certainly are screwy.
And there we go.
Yay. The end. Seriously, one of the better episodes of that series.
Yeah.
Full of pathos and heart. Just very nice. And it gave Bud a nice vacation. So when you watch that as a child, I feel like a freak because actually I used to bawl watching this. I used to cry like a baby watching
Yeah.
because I felt so sorry for him. Well, how did you feel watching this as a kid?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I was that demonstrative in my emotion, but yeah, I did feel very sorry. It was we've talked about this earlier. This was one of those instances where Bud's
Meanness?
treatment of Lou, his meanness just went too far, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I agree. He didn't have to do that. It's like he could have cut that in half, basically, and gotten the same effect. But he
Yeah.
was so into it. He was so into being that, that violent, impatient, mean character Sometimes it doesn't land well. But that's a great episode. I love that episode. And speaking of great episodes, now the centerpiece to my holiday viewing at Christmas time. And this is the Abbott and Costello Christmas show from the Colgate Comedy Hour. And you know, the Colgate Comedy Hour was their live show. So you got to see them work in front of an audience, a live audience. And to me, it made all the difference in the world. I love the film show, and I think they do great work, and they preserve those wonderful routines with a great cast of characters. But to watch them work in front of a live audience, to me, it's like a little gift. I just love watching them do it.
Oh yeah.
And in this episode, usually Lou goes through the gamut of violence. He's usually thrown through windows, through doors. He has vases of different shapes and sizes broken over his head. He even smashes the piano. I mean, he really works like crazy. And again, when I watch these shows, sometimes I have to remind myself, this is a sick man. This is a man that's, he's killing himself to make us laugh. But in this one, Bud, as a Christmas present, I suppose, to Lou, is the person who gets the abuse in this episode. And oh boy, does he get abuse. The interesting thing is when in that opening scene where Bud is being thrown through windows and things like that at the very opening, they used it again. They saw how it worked on the Colgate Comedy Hour, and then they worked it into Abbott and Costello Meet the Keystone Cops, and used the same bit. So anyway, I find that interesting that they try it out on television and then put it in a movie. So let's start this. We're going to hear Lou sing a version of White Christmas, completely straight, and until it falls into pandemonium. And it is pandemonium with some of the greatest stuntmen in Hollywood. Okay, so let's start with the Colgate Comedy Hour. This is going to be complete with the songs, that are part of it, the vaudeville acts that are part of it, and maybe even a few commercials. And this is colorized, folks, and I chose that on purpose because it's the holidays. Let's watch it in color. Okay?
All right.
You count it down, Mr. Jerry Boy.
Counting it down. Our final entry for the episode. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin.
Yeah, who's in it?
We'll soon find out.
Yay.
Oh, I love the Nicholas brothers.
We love them. Boy, I cat and the mouse. Who is this Pete guy?
Good question.
Yeah. Pete Company. Isn't Pete like something you put on your lawn? Like Pete Moss? It's the only thing I can think of.
I think I went to school
Oh,
with
Molly.
Pete Moss.
Yes, I did. He was always on the grounds.
Yeah.
That's a good caricature. Okay. Like with every other variety or comedy show on television, it always starts with a musical number and dance. And Jackie Gleason did it with the June Taylor dancers, and every one of them would do something like this at the beginning of the show. And these guys, I'm not sure what their names are. I think the High-Lows or something. They're whatchamacallit, they're in a few episodes of the Abbott and Costello Colgate shows. Boy, look at that fur she's wearing. I'm sure the animal is very cold right now. Oh, she's cute. Look at those dimples. So this young lady formed a singing act with 3 middle-aged guys that, looked like they're about to collect their Social Security. And this young, really pretty girl. Well, they're no dummies. It's interesting. And when Jimmy Durante was hosting I'm not sure if it was Four-Star Review or Colgate Comedy Hour,
Uh-huh.
but one of the chorus girls was Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh.
Yeah, stood out like a sore thumb.
Mm.
And tomorrow is Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and today
Wow.
is Frank Sinatra's birthday. And there's Santa, and there's Bud, and there's Lou in color.
Yeah.
He's going to
Don't.
steal.
Yeah, on these live shows, to me, there's always that additional element of, do they actually know where they're going with the script?
You know what? I think they do. With
Yeah.
live television, you have to rehearse. You have to. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. Uh, Dean Martin didn't have to because his show is taped. Taped live.
Yeah.
This is just straight through,
Yep.
and you had to rehearse it very, very diligently. So yeah. So they already did something they did in Buck Privates,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're doing the stuff from Noose Hangs High, where Lou has to get them in jail. Bud wants him to get hit with a car so they can collect money. Bud's got a better idea. Mhm. And that's Sid Fields and
There's
Dorothy
Sid.
Granger.
Yep.
Dorothy's wearing this horrible hat, and Lou's picking. What did he pick out of the hat?
Grapes.
Grapes, and he's eating them.
Hmm.
So much for that. Sid just agreed with Lou. That's all. Bud,
And camera three. Camera three.
Bud's talking to the camera. I mean, Lou's talking to the cameraman. Look at Bud. Yeah. You know what I love about this whole sketch
What's that?
is that it points a sour finger at people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's everybody has something to hide. Everybody's doing something wrong or secretive. That's the basis of this bit. They can't do their illegal thing because everybody else is illegal.
Yeah.
He stole it. Don't put me in jail for Christmas. Aw, Lou's crying along with him. Poor man. Oh, Bud slaps him, of course. And there's Gordon Jones. There's Mike the cop doing a very brief bit for the boys. Look how slim he is.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Bud starts getting it.
Bam.
There he goes. Gordon Jones. Wow. I figured, he shows up for that brief bit.
Yeah.
Glenn Strange showed up. Oh, this is funny. It looks like a spear is in Abbott. But that's what I mean about their improv skills. Lou
Yep.
saw that and used it. And, it wasn't in rehearsal. I'm sure it wasn't in rehearsal. But people like Gordon Jones and Glenn Strange and even to a certain extent Lon Chaney Jr., they show up to do quick bits on the Colgate shows. And you know what? It made me realize these guys are just making a living, you know? They didn't care about how large the role was. It's just,
Mhm.
throw me a few bucks. I'll be happy to come in and do it.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. What Gordon Jones just did, I'm sure he made a nice chunk of change. And that was it. It was over. Now Lou's getting his revenge on Bud. And Bud is still addlepated from from being thrown through a window. Okay. Here's a guy who fell down. Wait, he looks like a monster, this guy.
Mm.
And there goes Bud in his second window. And that ends the scene. Lou mentions during the scene that this is only the beginning, Bud. This is just the beginning of your abuse. Okay, well, let's talk about Palmolive soaps. a brand that's still around today, Palmolive. Look at this guy. This guy borrowed Bud's mustache for this occasion to sell drugs. Maybe he's from Venezuela.
And
That's terrible.
one of the things I do enjoy about watching these full programs like this is the commercials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to see what it was like back then,
Yeah. It's funny because when you listen to commercials on the radio from the 40s and into the 50s, you think, my God, people must have been so, naive because these things are so corny and they're so, they seem so false. And then you see things like this, and it's a little better, but it's still, your skin will look like porcelain if you use this 19 times a day. Look at this guy. I would love
9 out of 10 doctors smoke Camels.
Exactly. And instead of cigarettes.
Yes.
When it gets around the hump, it's hard to inhale. Palmolive, chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll was being pushed at this time. That was a big deal. Chlorophyll. It changed everything from toothpaste to water.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here we are. It looks like a busy shopping place for Christmas. It's a department store. Do all women wear fur coats in the 1950s? Okay, now this is one of the more bizarre acts that we're going to see in this show. The man is Buster Shaver, and he was a vaudeville dancer for years and years. And he partnered up, that woman is Olive Brasno, and she used to work with her brother George, just like Liberace did. My brother George. Olive Brasno and George Brasno are well remembered from the Little Rascals, from our gang. They were the two dwarfs that in the one with the magic lamp called A Lad and a Lamp. And they wish they were children, and they shrunk down to George and Olive size.
Yeah.
And they did another one of my all-time favorites, Arbor Day, where they're mistaken for students that are cutting school, and the truant officer is after them. But anyway, they were both very, very talented. At this point, George was pretty much retired, so Olive worked with Buster Shaver in this act. But as I watched it, I just find it a little bizarre. This grown man dancing with this little girl, and she doesn't look like a dwarf. She looks like a little girl.
Exactly.
It's odd. But they were born in Old Bridge, New Jersey. And they were brought up in New Jersey, not very high, but they were brought up. And again, she spent the bulk of her career performing on stage, but occasionally the two, brother and sister, made feature films. Mine just froze here. There it goes. And yeah, they show up in Little Miss Broadway with Shirley Temple, The Mighty Barnum with Wallace Beery, and Sitting Pretty with Jack Haley and Jack Oakey. They're also in Charlie Chan at the Circus. And again, those two, it wasn't Aladdin a Lamp, it was Shrimps for a Day and Arbor Day, the two Art Gang comedies. She was offered a part as a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, but she turned it down because she was making more money in vaudeville. But she did marry the dwarf actor Gus Wayne, who was one of the soldiers in Munchkinland, and they were married for 37 years. Amazing. She passed away in Lakeland, Florida, which I played. I did stand up there. It's a very redneck town. And she died in 1998 at the age of 80. She was married for 37 years to her husband, and she outlived her husband by only 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. It was one of those things where they were so attached, she followed along. She's a cutie, though. And there you go. And there's Santa Claus with the little children. I used to have something like that, the little twirly guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like on the trapeze. That was fun. In fact, there was one cereal, Rice Crinkles, when I was a kid, that actually had something like this, a really small version in a box, in the cereal box. Can you imagine? Not anymore, boy.
Nope.
They might choke on it. Okay, and here's the real version. This is Tom and Jerry. I don't know much about them, but they are incredible acrobats. Now, this is very typical of your live shows on television during those days. What did vaudevillians do when vaudeville was no longer viable? They did live television. They toured in circuses. They toured Europe. So there was plenty of work. It just wasn't always in this country. And, vaudeville, let's face it, it made it very convenient to know what your schedule is for the rest of the year. You've got your train schedule, and you're going from one theater to the next. But these guys now had to work to find gigs, and this is one of them. Let's face it, though. Things like the Ed Sullivan Show, Milton Berle's Texaco Star Theater, the Colgate Comedy Hour, 4-Star Review, these were all just vaudeville shows. Fred Allen said, vaudeville died and television is the box they buried it in. Leave it to Fred to wrap it up perfectly. He's also the one that said television is called a medium because nothing is well done. He was not a fan.
No.
And couldn't really find his niche. I mean, he did eventually in What's My Line, but Fred should have been like the host of like a political talk show. He would have been wonderful.
That would have suited him nicely.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Between the witty remarks and his opinions and all that stuff, he was just a wonderful comedian. What is this guy wearing? He's got this beanie on his head. He looks like that's like the kind Spanky used to wear.
Yeah.
And he's all right. So he's the dumb one.
He's gonna jump.
Here he goes. I often say that, people with a musical gift are usually born with them. Usually born with that innate, intrinsic
Uh-huh.
talent. Somehow, it might be reincarnation, it might be whatever. I don't know, but even this, to be born with a sense of balance like this,
Yeah.
must be, incredible. And I'm sure as kids, these guys were like, walking on roofs and
Mhm.
along ledges and all kinds of things. But they're terrific. Look at this.
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I love that they're a duo. They're an acrobatic duo, and one is the straight man and one is the comic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom and Jerry. Oh, here we are with Colgate Ribbon Dental Cream. I suppose when they say ribbon, it means it's multicolored. Can I say colored anymore? No, I don't think I can. Oh my God. Elizabeth Montgomery must be in the room. Those people just popped in.
I know.
And look at this guy. Bing Crosby called. He wants his ears back.
Yeah.
And what's she making? Oh no, she's got another baby on the way. Look at this guy.
Wow.
And here's the doctor. I'm sorry, sir, but your kneecaps have to come off. Colgate.
These are pretty extensively produced commercials.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Colgate these were popular commercials actually. Every one of these products had a catchy theme song to go with it,
Yeah.
which is always fun. But the most famous and the one that lasted the most was for Halo, the hair thing.
Mm-hmm.
Halo, everybody, halo.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. See, even that one outlived this show. Unpleasing breath, tooth decay. And there she is, Princess Leia. And there's Bing. And there's Mom, who was an advisor to Barbara Billingsley. Pure white safe Colgates will not stain or discolor. Okay, are you ready? Because this routine it's hilarious. This is where Bud, he deserves an award here. And all he does is sleep, really, through the routine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because it is just absolutely. When I first saw this, Jerry, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious. All right, now this is fascinating, and I'm going to tell this to our viewers. Right now, they're not communicating. Lou is trying to get Bud to say something about their job that they just acquired. Bud is not picking up the cue, and he's ignoring him. He keeps telling him, never mind, never mind. Lou wants to set up the next scene. Now, what he's saying is he's trying to set up the fact that Bud got them executive positions, and that sets up the fact that they're only delivery men in the next scene.
Yeah.
And Bud did not pick it up. So anyway, now they're on to the next thing, and Lou does not give up. He's still trying to get that across. See? Now this is something like the bit they did with the massage, where Bud lays down for a massage, and of course the radio switches, and instead it's a radio show about painting cars. So Lou has to paint Bud while Bud sleeps. And in this one, Bud falls asleep again, and Lou makes the mistake of listening to the wrong instructions. He's supposed to be giving a head massage. And Lou's falling asleep. You can see Bud's bald spot. Lou actually, his hair was thinning by this point, and there are some, even in the films, sometimes when you see the top of his head, you could see how thin his hair is, and he colored it in, with black. Yeah. But his brother Pat was kind of had really receding hairline, and so did his dad. So Lou was lucky to have those strands up there because it looks like a full head of hair. What is this? The eggs? Oh no, this is the lotion.
The hair tonic. Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's a tonic comic. I'm sure Lou had a great time doing this. Okay, Bud. This is Bud come up today. Look at his hair. You can see Bud did a little bit of a comb over. Okay. The eggs. I love the way he uses Bud's hair to try to keep the eggs from falling. He tries to shape Bud's hair into like a cup. Oh, there go the eggs. Boom. Mm. This is so funny. Here we go. What does he have? A fly swatter?
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work. He's setting it up now. Now he's just going to throw them on his head. He's not having much luck with the eggs. Look at him.
He's
cracking up.
cracking himself up. Yeah.
You got to hand it to Bud, though. I'd be laughing. He's really under control.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's massaging the head. So what happened was now it is turned, without Lou knowing it, to a recipe for a turkey dinner. And he's putting all of the ingredients on Bud's head. What are those? The onions and stuff?
Yeah, celery and onions. Yeah.
Celery and onions. Oh my God, Bud. Bud deserves an Emmy just for this.
Yeah.
Look at him. Okay. What's next?
Can of mushrooms.
Can of mushrooms.
Or you can cut them.
Yeah, or not. Bam! He hits it off of Bud's head. So no mushrooms. And I agree. Okay. Now that's real laughter.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I like about it. Okay. Here's the turkey, an unusually large one.
Mm-hmm.
And what he does with this turkey is unbelievable. Even Lou has to step in front of Bud to get a look at it. That's how unbelievable it is.
Yes.
And inside the dead turkey, for some reason, is a baby chick, a baby chicken, coming out of a dead turkey. Only in the world of Abbott and Costello, my friends, can a live chick live in a dead Turk.
Mm-hmm.
I like how careful Lou is. He puts it in a little pan and hands it off to a stagehand. Because it's a baby. The turkey almost knocked him out as he tried to pick it up. Now this is just amazing what he does. There he is, opening up the belly of the beast. And stuff the noodle into the turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the noodle being Bud's head. And they use the turkey complete with the head attached, the neck attached, everything, the legs. And he's putting it on Bud's head with the turkey's butt looking right at us. And Lou has to see it. He has to go in front to see it. Look at the butt. Look at the turkey's butt. He's like Butt Abbott.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is hilarious. So now he's got to put the turkey in the oven, which is attached to Bud Abbott. And Bud's still asleep. You can see the oven has been preheated. Bud is all the way in, almost. Now, what they're doing here is Bud is in the oven. The makeup men are putting a bald wig on him because they want. The gag is the oven has burned his hair off, but it's taking longer than usual, and Lou has to ad lib, and he even starts drumming a little bit here just to kill time while they're putting this bald cap on Bud. See? I wonder if he did that at home a lot with the spoons. You say, hurry up, Bud, hurry up. I'm running out of things to do. Oh, here he comes. And he's got the towel around his head. See, you just saw he was bald. This was not done very well.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks great. He's only got the fringe hair around his head. Now he's seeing himself for the first time. Lou runs away, out the door. Bud opens it and grabs him and puts him in the oven. But the door opens, and that's not Lou. The real Lou comes out, and Bud has to finish the scene by throwing Lou through the door, which is how they ended a lot of their sketches.
Oh, yeah.
Another commercial for giant size Fab. And I think, isn't Fab still around? Isn't that still a detergent?
I think so.
I think it is. Boy, Palmolive really has sustained a presence, in American life. It's amazing. Okay, there's the typical mom wearing a dress to clean the house. She looks a little like Betty White, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah, she has that Betty White privilege.
And a typical son sitting buck naked in the bathtub.
Yeah, typical, I think all women in dresses doing housework have a naked boy in the bathtub. But they usually get arrested.
Yeah.
At that point. So livelier white, as opposed to stoic white.
Yes.
Immobile white. And look at Fab is placed beautifully right up there where you can see it. And this kid is like, go ahead.
He's going to wash his hands in the washer water? I mean,
Yeah.
what?
Just wait until he puts them through the ringer.
We
That's
just
gotta
saw
hurt.
him in the tub. What does he have to wash his hands now for?
That's the magic of these commercials. They're just, they leave you wondering, how do they do that? And look, everybody bought Fab. And whiter washes without bleaching. That's the thing. And there's Margaret Whiting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Margaret Whiting, because she
Go
was
right ahead.
a major star.
Yes.
Born Margaret Eleanor Whiting in 1924, same year my dad was born. She gained popularity in the 40s and 50s mostly. She was born in Detroit. The family moved to Los Angeles in 1929 when she was 5. Her father, Richard Whiting, was a very, very famous and popular songwriter. He was responsible for Hooray for Hollywood, Ain't We Got Fun, in the morning, in the evening, ain't we got fun, on the good ship, lollipop, that one. Also, her sister, Barbara Whiting, was an actress and a singer, and she was in a few movies, movies like Junior Miss and Beware My Lovely. Her aunt, Margaret Young, was a singer and a popular recording artist in the 1920s. Very musical family. Her singing ability was noticed by her aunt, Margaret, and at 7, she sang for Johnny Mercer, who was writing songs with her father, Richard Whiting, and they wrote together the song, You're Much Too Marvelous for Words. Great songs, just great songs. In 1942, Johnny Mercer created Capitol Records, and Margaret Whiting was one of the first people he signed for a long-term contract. Her first records were with bands. She was just a singer with the bands. But her big hit was Moonlight in Vermont, which I think is still the only popular song without one rhyme in it. And she recorded that with Billy Butterfield's orchestra, the great trumpet player, Billy Butterfield. It sold over 1 million copies. She also did That Old Black Magic with Freddie Slack and his orchestra, and It Might As Well Be Spring with Paul Weston and his orchestra. In 1945, she went solo and had a few hits, A Tree in the Meadow in 1948, and she did a duet with a country music star, Jimmy Wakely. They did a song called Slippin' Around, and that was another #1 hit in 1949. It sold almost 2 million copies, and she was titled the Queen of the Jukeboxes. Anyway, she continued to record for Capitol, ended up recording at different companies. And her sister and she did the summer replacement series, I think for 2 or 3 seasons, for I Love Lucy, in a sitcom called Those Whiting Girls. That was from 55 to 57. She did every variety show in the world, and she was married 4 times. Mm-hmm. One of her husbands was the guy who started Panavision, the cameras that everybody used.
Yeah.
And her last husband, was Jack Wrangler, real name John Stillman. He was a 1970s and 80s gay pornography star. She married him in 1994. She was 70. He was 48. Whoa. He died of emphysema in 2009, and she followed in 2011 at the age of 86. And she died at the Lillian Booth Actors Home in Inglewood, New Jersey, which is a place, when I think about it, I could end up there. It's for Actors Equity Union members who, are alone or whatever. So it's very possible I might end up there. Yeah. Now here we have Sid Fields again, who we love. And the woman is Dorothy Granger. Now, if you're a classic comedy fan, you know Dorothy Granger. She was pretty much one of the queens of the two-reeler, the comedy slapstick two-reeler. That was her niche. Mm-hmm. She was born Dorothy Carolyn Granger in 1911. She was born in New London, Ohio, and the family moved to Silver Beach, a summer resort towards Houston, near Houston, where she won a beauty contest at the age of 13. She developed very early on. Let's put it that way. She was a very zoftic or buxom woman, very sexy when she was a young lady, very, very, very pretty. So anyway, in 1930, her father moved the family to Los Angeles and took her to the Hal Roach studios, and she was just there in time to audition for a new series called The Boyfriends. Now, the Boyfriend series was George Stevens, the great film director. This was his big project at the Hal Roach studios, and it comprised of Davy Sharp, the great stuntman, and also Grady Sutton, the great comic actor. Well, fan my brow. That's what he would say. That was his catchphrase. And, a few others, Mary Corman and Gertie Messenger. So anyway, it was a successful series. They worked for a couple of seasons, but she also worked for Mack Sennett Studios, Educational, Columbia, RKO. She was in Hog Wild with Laurel and Hardy. The Dentist, very memorable with W.C. Fields. She was that pretty woman that kept bending down in front of him. She made Punch Drunks and Termites of 1938 with the Stooges. She appeared with Andy Clyde, Charlie Chase, Edgar Kennedy, Harry Langdon, Gus Schilling, and Richard Lane, and Joe DeRita. But her most famous was as the sarcastic and suspicious wife of Leon Errol in his long-running series, at RKO. She was always the wife. Very, very good. She also made some features. She appeared in about 100 feature films in small roles, usually unbilled. She was in Frisco Jenny with Ruth Chatterton, Kentucky Colonels with Wheeler and Woolsey and Spanky McFarlane, Dick Tracy versus Cue Ball, one of my favorites, Diamond Jim with Edward Arnold, and Showboat, James Whale's production of Showboat with Alan Jones and Irene Dunn. She did the Abbott and Costello show. She did the Colgate show. She was on I Married Joan, Father Knows Best, Topper, Death Valley Days, Wells Fargo. Her last television performance was a live show called Face the Facts in 1961. She left show business in 1963. She called it an ulcer factory. That's interesting, an ulcer factory. And made her last public appearance in 1993 for the Screen Actors Guild's 60th anniversary celebration, because she was an honored guest, because she was one of SAG's first members back in the early 30s.
Oh.
And in her later years, she helped her husband run an upholstery shop in Los Angeles, which is good because she looked like she was stuffed pretty well. That was terrible, misogynistic, and so horrible. Maybe I'll say it again later. She died of cancer in 1995 at the age of 83 in Los Angeles, California. But she was terrific. Now here they are doing the famous fireplace goodbye scene. This is something that they used to do in burlesque. Look at Bud. Bud looks depressed. This, I have to say that while we're watching this, this was my least favorite scene in the show, of Abbott and Costello's bits in this show. I just thought it was a little too repetitive, them moving all the appliances in and then having to move them out and then having to move them in again. It just, to me, it got a little tiresome. But this ending is fun.
Yeah, it's just a variation on the pack unpack and not as well done.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. But it does give a nice roles to Sid and Dorothy in the show. So everybody's saying goodbye to the old fireplace. And Lou can't quite understand it. But of course, Bud joins right in.
Yep.
Anything to make Lou feel out of it. And he says goodbye to the fireplace. And this is where Lou gives his Christmas message to the crew and everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost feels like this should be the end of this episode.
Yeah, but the last scene is so choreographed and so crazy that I see why they're doing it now. And how sweet that they're doing it at all,
Well, yes, I agree.
And they did. They made a fortune this year. He ad-libbed. You see, he was a wonderful improviser.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making this all up. Of course, the hand comes out and shakes his hand. Aw. And Lou is thrown into the Christmas tree. Another commercial. Smoother, more comfortable shaves. Palmolive brushless shaving cream. And now here's animation. Three barbers singing their Palmolive brushless shaving cream song.
And I'm sorry, but I always thought it was a barbershop quartet. Maybe
Yeah.
they couldn't afford a fourth animated barber. I don't know.
I didn't really put that together. But you're right. That should have been a barbershop quartet. And even there's three. Well, 3 out of 4.
Yes.
More comfortable. Yes. And so delicious.
Yeah.
There's the fourth guy. He's in the frame.
There we go.
No. Do people still wear aftershave? I don't know anyone that wears aftershave.
That's an excellent question. I mean, body spray seems to have taken the place of aftershave.
You're probably right. Because in our generation, I know my father always had, like Aqua Velva or Old Spice or something
Yeah.
like that. But there was always aftershave. But I don't know anyone that uses it now.
No. And
Okay, here we go, guys.
just think without aftershave, we wouldn't have had those great moments from Home Alone,
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. It did smell good. I remember, I did associate my dad with, the smell of Aqua Velva and Old Spice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, these are the Nicholas brothers,
Oh,
often
yes.
thought of as the greatest tap dancers of all time.
Yep.
Seriously, all time.
Yep.
The guy on the right is Fayard, and he was a friend of mine. I'm very proud to say that towards the end of his life, Fayard and I became friends. And I want to tell you a little bit about that. First, let me tell you about their history. Fayard Antonio Nicholas was born in 1914 in Mobile, Alabama. And Harold, his younger brother by 7 years, was born in 1921 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Their parents were college educated, both musicians, father a drummer, the mother a piano player, and they worked in the orchestra. When the family moved to Philadelphia, where the boys grew up, they worked at the local theater. I think it was called the Standard. And it was a African-American vaudeville theater. And their parents were a part of it. That meant that young Fayard, by the time he was 3 years old, used to sit in the front row and watch all the acts over and over and over again. And by watching the dancers, he was inspired to try it himself as a child. And he learned, he taught himself. What he's doing right now, he taught himself to do. Then he taught his sister, Dorothy, and he taught Harold how to dance. And look at them. His biggest thing was his father gave him this advice: use your arms. You have to use the upper part of your body, or else it's kind of boring. And Fayard, look at his arms. Look at his handwork. Look at him. It's just as eloquent as their dancing, their foot dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just as choreographed. Now, whatchamacallit, they were, by the time Fayard was 18 and Harold was 11, they were headlining at the Cotton Club in Harlem. And they were the only act allowed to fraternize with the white customers. So they were always at people's tables and, hanging around and working with Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway and all the greats, Fats Waller. They were just amazing. Eventually, Samuel Goldwyn asked them to come to Hollywood, and they did a bit with Eddie Cantor and Kid with Millions. And that was the first of their motion pictures. They made some short subjects for Warner Brothers, and those are a delight. You can see those on YouTube. I think one is called the All Black Radio Network. Another one is called Pie Pie Blackbird, and that's my favorite. That's the one with UB Blake and Ethel Waters. But anyway, Pie Pie Blackbird was, that's the one with UB Blake. They did on Broadway. Their first Broadway show was the Ziegfeld Follies of 1936. And then Rodgers and Hart hired them for Babes in Arms, where they made a huge hit. And they were choreographed by George Balanchine, the great ballet choreographer, who thought they were just amazing. They ended up going to Europe where, standards were different as far as racism. And they were treated as huge stars all over Europe and England. They performed for King George the Sixth, and they made movies, at 20th Century Fox. And these movies, they only did guest appearances. They came on, they did a dance number, and then they were gone. And that was because it was so easy to cut those numbers out in the southern states, which is so sad when you think about it. And these people were missing the greatest dancers. My God. And their dance in a movie called Stormy Weather with Cab Calloway, they do Jump and Jive. Fred Astaire considered it the greatest dance number ever put on film. And that's the one where they go down the stairs and they land in splits over and over and over again. And the legend is that Nick Castle, the choreographer, told them not to rehearse it and to just do it in one take. And that's what they did. Wow. And Harold was so happy because they didn't have to do it again and again and again. So you're seeing their first take. Okay. So Harold was the more contentious of the two. He was very sensitive to the racism and all that, and I don't blame him. He was an angry young man. Fayard, he ended up choreographing on Broadway. He won a Tony for his choreography. I held that Tony in my hands. And here's a very interesting thing. I know I'm talking over Lou's bit here, but I have a history with Fayard Nicholas. And he was married to a woman by the name of Catherine Hopkins at the end. And Catherine Hopkins had a very interesting history. She was first married to Herbie Weir of the Weir brothers. And of course, he was much older and part of a brother act. So when Herbie died, she married Fayard Nicholas of the Nicholas brothers. And he was much older than she, by 25 years or so. And the two of them shared a one-bedroom apartment in North Hollywood, not very luxurious. They didn't have money. And I spent, Fayard's birthday there, Thanksgiving once. And I was the last person to sing Chattanooga Choo Choo with him. And we watched these numbers together. And he told me, he commented on them as we watched. It was wonderful. He passed away in 2006, and that was a very sad day. But Catherine Hopkins' father was Bob Hopkins, and she didn't know her father at all. He died when she was a baby. And there was a big picture of her father over the dinner table. And I looked and I said, oh my God, that's the guy from the Abbott and Costello show. Bob Hopkins played the host of Hold That Cuckoo, the game show that Lou goes on, among other things. He's in Crashing Las Vegas with Leo Gorcey and the Bowery Boys. He got around towards the late 50s. So I got to show her these things for the first time. She was seeing her father. It was really neat.
Wow.
And after Fayard died, they owed so much money. And me and my friend Rusty Frank, we raised money to help them, to help her. And she died shortly afterwards of cancer. It was terrible. Anyway, here's Lou. He just sang White Christmas very nicely, I should say, even spoke a little of it. Now he's doing this is the dance act he learned in burlesque. And this is the one he would go to when he needed to do a dance. Here we go. The orchestra's ready. That's Al Goodman's orchestra. I always thought Al Goodman was Benny Goodman's brother, but he wasn't. It was that was Harry Goodman who played the bass. But Al Goodman was born in the Ukraine. Now that's Harvey Perry, one of the great stuntmen of all time. He actually doubled for Harold Lloyd climbing the building in Safety Last.
Wow.
Yeah, these are all Hollywood stuntmen. And Harvey's one of the best of all time. I'm just wondering, is Davy Sharp part of this? I don't know if I recognize him. But anyway, now all hell breaks loose. They're breaking violins over their heads, and Lou's still trying. He's still trying to conduct.
Yeah. I got to say, the question that ran through my mind was, I wonder what the violin budget was for this number here.
Well, you knew it was all like, what's that word? What's that wood?
Yeah, the balsa wood. Yeah.
The balsa wood, probably you didn't feel a thing.
Yeah, but still, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, oh yeah, even the drum and everything else. This is like the Spike Jones show. He's got the drum around him, his pants are falling down. And now Bud's with Al Goodman with the gun, and it goes off, and it releases maybe the largest chandelier I've ever seen, which lands right on Lou. And this is the goodbye.
Yep.
That was wonderful. When I first saw this, I was so impressed by, number one, the fact that he did White Christmas straight through, and all the stunt work from the orchestra, from the stuntmen in the orchestra. It was just wild. And there's Buddy Boy in his tuxedo, and Lou looking like he did all the work, which he did.
Yes.
Actually, Bud really went above and beyond in this one. And he looks great in a tux.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Christmas, you guys. Thanks for the entertainment. And now I guess I don't have to watch it for Christmas. I already did.
Oh, there you go.
Colgate cleans your breath and paints your car.
Yeah.
Palmolive brushless shaving cream. You won't find any brush in this tube. Fab, the detergent that makes your clothes so white you can't see them. And Palmolive chlorophyll green soap. So delicious with soup. The Abbott and Costello Show, written by John Grant. There we go.
Yep.
And there's Al Goodman from the Ukraine. Louis Dupron, who was a friend of my friend, Rusty Frank. She took lessons from him, tap dancing lessons. Yeah. Furs by Teitelbaum. Teitelbaum. For those of you who love Spike Jones. Sam Fuller. For some reason, I thought it was the famous film director, Sam Fuller, but it wasn't. It's someone else. And Ed Sobel was the director. He also worked on the Lawrence Welk Show, the George Gobel Show, Spike Jones. And that reminds me, I want to remind everyone of my favorite Abbott and Costello Christmas story. I might have told this before, but I think it bears repeating. Lou considered Christmas to be his personal holiday. He just loved everything about it. He was like a 6-year-old. And every year he had the Universal tech people come over and decorate his house. And it was a showcase. It was a show place, I should say. It was one of those places where traffic was all the way down, Ventura Boulevard, all the way down, just to see this house. There were lights, there were mechanical reindeer and Santa Claus on the roof, yelling ho, ho, ho. There were cartoons on a loop being shown on the front lawn. I mean, you name it, he had it. In fact, one year he was late at the studio, and they pulled the switch to light the house up before he got there. He was like a child. He didn't speak for the rest of the night. He was so upset that he missed it. So yeah, he was like that. But anyway, they lived across the street from the comedian George Gobel, who had a very popular television show at the time. And across the street, he didn't have any Christmas decorations at all. He had one light bulb on his mailbox, and under the light bulb was a note that read, "See our display across the street." And I just think that is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
So old Lonesome George got the last laugh.
Yes.
But anyway, we celebrated Christmas with the boys, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed watching this stuff with us and our commentary. And we hope you enjoyed us going through your letters and your nice words and your questions. And I want to thank my writing partner, Matthew Conium, for adding his 2 cents to the game. And that's about it. Jerry, I just want to tell you, it's been great as usual. And I want to wish you the happiest holiday you've ever had.
And back at you, my friend.
Thank you.
And all as Christmassy as it can get in Florida. You know, I'm a New Englander, and I'm not a big fan of snow, but Christmas is cold and snowy.
Yes. And so is my Aunt Doris.
Oh, is she?
But other than that, no, I'm just saying it's getting a little cooler here in Florida as you know, you get to December and January and February. But it's, you know, cool here is like 65 degrees, 60 degrees, you know, maybe in the 50s. So I accept that gratefully, you know, because I'm a cold fan. Winter is my favorite time of year. I love snow. I love cold weather. Yeah. So people think I'm nuts. But anyway, I wish you all the best, Jerry. Enjoy all of that. Enjoy the tour. You're very blessed right now. And it's wonderful that you are. I want to congratulate my friend Greg Airbar for his appearance on Turner Classics with his book about Hanna-Barbera and showing those movies for 2 weeks. He was on 2 Wednesdays in a row introducing movies, and he did a great job. So wonderful, Greg. Nice job. All right. So in the meantime, Jerry, again, Merry, Merry Christmas. And to all of you out there, I want to wish you a very, very happy and most of all, healthy holiday season. I want to wish those who celebrate a Merry Christmas. Somebody asked me if I celebrate Ramadan. I usually stay there in those hotels when I can. And and, you know, if you celebrate that, fine. If you celebrate Hanukkah, a happy Hanukkah. And I think I'm leaving one out that is celebrated in this country, but I can't think of it right now. So let's just make a blanket Merry Christmas, everybody. All the best. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for our New Year's show coming up next in episode 43. Merry Christmas, everybody.